this video, I will show you how to make romanization for your Conlang. When making romanization, you want to have consistent patterns. For an example of what not to do, in my first language, for the sounds tha and tha, I use th and vh for the romanization. This is bad because T is an alveolar plosive and V is a bilabial fricative, and the only difference between tha and tha is one is voiceless and one is voiced. TH and DH would be how you should romanize this, because D is just a voiced T, and that is what you're using for the voiceless version. But if you absolutely wanted to romanize tha with VH, you could romanize tha with FH. Another mistake people do is romanizing sha and ja with sh and j. You should not do this because ja is just the voiced version of sha. In this case, you should romanize it with zh because z is just a voiced s, and that is what you are using for the voiceless version. You could also romanize sha and ja like this. The ya sound should either be romanized with a y or a j. J's were originally meant to make the y sound when it was originally created in the Latin alphabet, but if you use j, it is less likely for people who speak English to know what sound it is. After all, romanization is to show people how to pronounce your language. Retroflex sounds can be romanized with a dot under them or an R before them. Please know that there might be better ways to romanize these sounds that I don't know of. Sometimes for palatal sounds, I like to romanize them using tildes, like in Spanish. Or you can romanize them using a following Y or J, depending on which one you use for the ya sound. You can romanize glottal stops with apostrophes. I like to use G's with breves to romanize the voiced velar fricative. The sound can be a tricky one to romanize, such as it is a tricky one to pronounce. I normally romanize it with a V, but if you're already using the V, you could romanize it like this. Lots of sounds are obvious how to romanize. If you're using a variant of a sound that there's a symbol for, but not the actual sound, you can just use the symbol. For example, if you have a rolling R, but no normal R sound, you can just use an R for the rolling R. If you need to differentiate between a tap and an approximant, you can just use an acute accent. And for a trill, you can use a double acute accent. Or you can reduplicate the letter, like in Spanish. Length can be shown either by reduplicating the letter, having a macron, or an acute accent. Most of the time, nasalization is shown with a tilde. Before you go using a bunch of symbols in your romanization, you need to know what they mean. A ring or a diaeresis can indicate that it is a variant of that vowel. Acute accents can be used for lots of things, such as stress, length, high tone, or rising tone. Grave accents normally indicate the opposite of whatever an acute accent is used for, such as shortness, anti-stress, falling tone, or low tone. Double accents can be used for extreme versions of what the accents are used for, such as extremely high tone, extremely low tone, high rising tone, or low falling tone. Or they can just be diaereses and accents combined. A macron is normally used to indicate length, but it can also be used to indicate things like a midtone. Circumflexes and corones are normally used to indicate rising and falling tones, but they can also be used to indicate rising falling tones and falling rising tones, and sometimes they are used for other things. Hooks show that there's an R pronounced after that sound. Cedillas can show softness. This T might be pronounced th, and the C might be pronounced s or sh. That is everything I know about romanization. If you have any romanization tips you use, please let me know in the comments. Also, email me at catelity@outlook.com. If I get enough submissions, I will make a Conlang showcase. And also, please subscribe and click the video on the screen. I'm sure you'll like it.